Okay, so we're working on that external hip rotation today. There's another hip mobility movement exercise in this section as well, so you can always follow up with that or do that one first. So working on our external rotation today, you're probably going to notice if you've got an internal or an external rotation of that hip in our warrior two. So when you come up to your warrior two, there's a lot of cueing about make sure that that knee is tracking to the outside edge of the foot. Now a lot of times people will track their knee to the inside edge of the foot. That is because of weakness in these glutes and tightness in these inner groin. Because when you need to work towards that external rotation, pulling this pelvis under, it takes a lot of extra work. So to keep our knees happy, to keep them pain-free, we really need to work on that external hip rotation, strengthening up these glutes so that our lower back isn't doing a lot of the work as well. So we'll come into a very quick hip mobility exercise focusing on that external rotation. Grab a couple of blocks if you've got them handy as well. We're going to start off in a lunge. Amazing to always open up those hip flexors. Starting off, we'll bring this right knee up, coming into that lunge, making sure that we've got our knee and ankle in line, bone on bone is there for our strength. Sinking down through this left hip flexor. Blocks are there if the floor's a bit too far away. Nice to keep really open here in our chest. Sinking that left hip flexor down. Holding here. Keep sinking that left hip flexor further down with every breath. See if you can walk that left knee further back to get an even deeper stretch. Coming into a lizard lunge now, so we're taking our right hand to the inside of that right leg, walking that right foot to the outside of the mat, just setting up those hands again so they're shoulders width apart, stretching the inner groin now of that right leg, sinking down again. Now absolutely, if you're opening your hips, then you can come down to your forearms, come down to a lower setting on the block. Keep breathing here. Keep sinking that hip further down. Final stretch here, taking this right hand to the inside of the right thigh, just above the knee, coming to the outside edge of that right foot. Pushing this right hand into that thigh, pushing it away, really stretching through that outside of that right hip, stretching that inner thigh. Inhale, come back through center, switching over to the other side. Left leg up this time, making sure that alignment is there. Starting to sink down into that right hip flexor this time, really sagging that right hip. See if you can sink that hip further down with every exhale, walking that right knee further back for a deeper stretch. Final inhale, exhale, setting up for that lizard lunge, so left hand to the inside of that left leg, walk that left foot to the outside, both hands come back to underneath your shoulders, settle in here, stretching that inner groin now. Again, coming down to those forearms if you've got that available for you, or coming down to a lower setting on your block. Final inhale here, exhale, coming to the outside edge of that left foot now, stretching through that inner groin. Inhale, come back through center. Take that left knee back, just come into a child's pose just for a second. Take that forehead down to the ground, knees together, toes together. Sink the hips down to the heels. Inhale, coming back up, coming into a frog pose now. Blocks are super helpful with our frog pose. So, you'll be in your all fours and you start to walk the knees out to the outside edges of the mat. Now, really important alignment here, our hips are always in line with our knees are always in line with our ankles, and our toes are flexed. So you walk down as much as you can with this alignment, really thinking about this hip and knee alignment especially, sinking that inner groin further down. Now you may be just resting on your hands here. To give you an extra bit of support, whatever level of your block you want, place it just underneath the rib cage, and you can place your forehead onto the block in front of you. That's going to give you this extra support. Be wary that you don't have your block too low, because to have your block too low, if you can't reach it, it's going to cause your hips to come forward. So to reach it, you might start to take these hips forward, and they're now in front of our knees, and there's no longer that key alignment that we need. So really focus on that where you are. Practice within your practice, not your ego. So sink down wherever you are and settle in here. Gonna hold this for 5 big breaths. Nice inhales and exhales. Trying to walk those knees further out to the side with every exhale. Once you've come to the end of that 5th breath, place those hands back on the ground if they're not already there. Start to walk these knees really slowly back into center, coming back into that closed knee child's pose. Sinking the forehead down, really letting those hips heavily sink down to the heels. Inhale, come back up through center. Coming down now to lying onto our side. We've done a lot of the stretching part, and now we're coming onto the strengthening of our glutes. So right forearm down, right elbow and shoulder in line. Keeping this right side lifted off of the ground, bending up those knees, feet together. Working on that external rotation, really coming from the hip, strength really coming from the glutes. So to put your hand there almost sends a signal to the brain, okay, this is the area moving. So we're going to start with our clamshells. We're going to do 15 each side. Absolutely do more if you want. Try to go slowly, really thinking about that movement. Inhale, take that knee up, really rotating that hip away from your body. Exhale, release that knee back down. Squeezing those glutes with every movement. Keeping that core engaged. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Switching over to the other side. Again, exactly the same setup. Really think about the external rotation using those glutes. 15 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Well done. Bash those glutes if you need. Coming all the way down to our belly now. Now this one is a bit of a tricky one, but try to go with it. Even if you're not doing much moving, you're just thinking about that moving, it'll make sense in a minute. What we really want here is to keep the pelvis tucked. So you're thinking about these front hip bones pulling up to the face. You're engaging this core and you're engaging the glutes at all times. Doing all of these things is going to help reduce the movement from our lower backs. I've said it a lot of times, but tight hips, tight glutes make the lower back overcompensate for our movements. That causes a whole array of pain, but obviously back pain. So that's what we really want to think about. So even if you're in this position, you're not doing much movement, but you've got that knee where I'm about to show you, and you're keeping that pelvis tucked, you're pulling that hip bones up to your face, your core is engaged, that belly button is drawing to the spine, and your glutes are firing. That is enough. So I'll be coming down to my forehead, hands are going to be resting onto my hands that are on top of one another, so head resting onto my hands. I'm bending up the right knee to start with. The foot is going to be resting on that back of that left leg, which is long. I'm engaging my glutes, squeezing them. I'm pulling my pelvis under, so my hip bones are drawing towards my face. And my belly button, that area just under my belly button, is really squeezing in, squeezing towards my spine. And then I'm going to start to try to lift off this right knee from the ground. Really squeezing through those glutes, trying to minimize the movement from my lower back. But like I said, this is a really difficult one, so even if you're just doing all of those prep work, so those glutes active, pelvis tucked, so you're really working this external rotation as well as strengthening the glutes here. Take 3 more wherever you are. Keep realigning that adjustment of the pelvis and the core. Switch over to the other side. Now one side might feel completely different to the other. Okay, make sure you've got that alignment, make sure you've got everything firing, tucking that pelvis. Take 3 more wherever you are. Really good work. And relax. Just relax down onto one of those cheeks. Let your hands come out to the side. Take some hip stretches, just wiggling those hips from side to side. Rolling all the way over to our backs. Final big stretch here. Coming into our reclined pigeon. Taking that right knee bent, left leg bent, right ankle is outside of that left thigh. Now you can stay here, think about this knee drawing away from your face to the front of the mat, really working that external hip rotation again. Or you can continue with the stretch and taking this left leg off of the ground, grabbing hold of the hamstring or in front of the shin and pulling that left knee towards your body. Now, I want you to make sure that you've got the shoulders on the ground. If the shoulders are off of the ground, it means you're too stretched. So just come out of the stretch a little bit so you can get that correct alignment. We want the whole of our back on the floor. Keep taking that knee away from your face, that right knee away from your face. With every exhale, can you bring this left knee closer towards your body? Holding it here for 3 more breaths. Once you come to the end of that breath, switching over to the other side. Bending out the right knee, bent left foot to the outside of that right thigh. Staying here if you need, thinking about that left knee drawing away from the body to the front of the mat. If not, we're picking up this right leg, grabbing the hamstring or the shin, pulling that right knee towards our body. Really deep opening up here of that outer hip. Continuing to draw that left knee away from the face, keeping it active, keeping that toe flexed. Keeping the shoulders on the ground. breathing here. Final big inhale. Exhale, release. Big stretch. Roll over to one side and sit yourself all the way up. Okay, so we've talked about how important it is to get that external rotation to strengthen the glutes. Warrior 2 is an amazing way to practice this. So keep working on those glutes, keep working on the external rotation. Check out the other hip mobility exercises as well in this section if you want to continue further. Thank you very much.